I'm here with Jeff Creeley,
Well,
CEO and President of Real News PR, and he's also the author of a book, Free Publicity. And just want to ask you, what made you write this book?
so I wrote the book to help people get access to the media. You know, when I was a television reporter for 25 years, I'd always get these questions from people saying, Jeff, how do I get my nonprofit on the air? Or how do I get my business on the air? And so over the course of 25 years, I realized that there's an interest in this. And as a newsroom insider, I could give them advice. So for 6 straight years, I ran around giving 300 speeches a year in addition to my TV job. And I sold 70,000 copies of that book.
That's great. Well, kind of thinking about that, giving people advice. Okay, we are doing Celebrate Associations 2018 for Dallas-Fort Worth Association Executives. And so I have a couple of questions for you.
You bet.
My first question is, okay, for Celebrate Associations, we are asking associations to tell their story. So what would you say to an association about telling their story and it not being something they don't think is newsworthy?
Yeah, that's always tough. You know, what is newsworthy? And I would say for most of the associations that are members, that if you're looking at news headlines, what's in the news right now, and if your association speaks to something that the media is already talking about, that's a really good opportunity. So, you know, there's been a lot in the news lately about trade wars and different, economic activity that could impact one of your members. If they're talking about something that one of your members talk about, that's the time to pick up the phone and call the newsroom.
Right, okay. Well, if it's, most people say, okay, all I do is just education. So how do you pick something out of an education program that would be, something that people want to hear about?
That's great. So I think most of the time you're going to ask yourself, who cares about this? And what do they watch? What do they read? What do they listen to? And that will help you identify the right media outlet. For some of your members, maybe what they're all about is interesting to a radio host. So they have to consume the news. They have to listen to the radio in order to pick up the phone and call that radio station. Or maybe it's something for one of the big TV stations, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 8, 11, 33, Telemundo, Univision. You got to watch the news a little bit and say, oh, wow, I saw that reporter, Sean Rabb, likes stories like the one that I'm imagining. I'm going to call Sean personally. And that's a big key that's in the book, and something that I'll talk about is don't be afraid to pick up the phone. So many people do everything by email or, and journalists are busy, but they still answer the phone. I had a conversation this morning with a very prominent journalist with the Dallas Morning News, Cheryl Hall. I left her a voicemail. I teased her. I said, Cheryl, I've got a great story. I don't call you but twice a year, and it's important. And 5 minutes later, she called me back. Journalists always have to know what's behind door number 2. So when you call them on the phone and you get voicemail, leave them guessing. Tease them a little bit.
Great. Well, most people don't realize that associations do more than just education. And they also do things that affect people. So if it's maybe a structure company that built this building, and what the contractors belong to an association that creates standards, and the way that it affects the people that actually work in the building is important. It's really newsworthy. It could be your fire sprinkler system. How do we have codes that affect people? So associations have a real story to tell, and they need to put it out there.
Absolutely. I would just advise, if your members are ever watching TV or listening to radio news in the car, and they're talking about something, and you find yourself kind of yelling at the TV set or yelling at the radio saying they're getting it wrong, that means your story is in play and the media needs to hear from you right then.
Right. So coming to our Celebrate Associations 2018, what would the associate members get out of telling their story at an event like that?
So publicity is 7 times more believable than advertising. That's a formula that they've used for years in marketing classes. So I called the book Free Publicity because there's nothing like getting a free article in the paper or a free ad on the radio just by telling an interesting story to a journalist. And so I would encourage all your members to come, because this is really a chance to focus on the story. And I'll be there to offer advice. If somebody isn't sure what their story is, I can help bring that out of them.
Right. And Jeff will be emceeing our association event, which is July 18th. I don't know if you can see the backdrop here, but everyone is invited, and we are really excited. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, please do so now.